So we have some drama to break down again. This week there was the NHL GM meetings, the yearly meetings, and Gary Bettman kind of put his stance down on the protection of head contact. And general manager was standing up with an owner trying to say we need stricter punishment and we can't allow this to continue with the headshots. But Gary Bettman, he proposed some pushback, and let's break this down. So I'm going to do my best to have a neutral breakdown of the Eric Tulsky Garrett Bettman exchange. But here's what happened. Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has long pushed publicly for stronger head protection and harsher penalties for head contact violations. His concerns were reported reignited by November incident, the Pitlick hit on Jalen Chatfield that resulted in an ejection but no suspension. Um, Broader frustrations at the meetings included recent high profile case like Gudis's 5 game suspension for neon kneeing Austin Matthews, perceived inconsistencies in the Department of Player Safety rulings, comments from stars recently like Connor McDavid speaking out on the length of suspensions and injuries and just their process.
Player safety has done their best. It's not an easy thing to do. With that being said, I think that there is reason to take a look at how the whole process works. If every time there's a suspension, everybody complains about it. Well, why don't we take a look at the process and figure out if there's a better way to make sure that both parties are happy, because it seems like there's a lot of frustration there.
Player safeties, including the headshots, was already a hot topic, but really picked up with this push from the Carolina owner and GM. So Tulsky was saying that he was arguing that the league standards interpretation of Rule 48, the headshot rule, has slipped or relaxed. He was taking issue with the idea that some headshots are unavoidable because of size mismatches, whatever. He was trying to go against that a little bit and advocating for harsher penalties so players understand certain plays are not allowed. No more oopsies excuses. This means longer suspensions, clear deterrence, education for players. One detailed timeline from the Elliot Friedman write up was Bettman himself first raised the issue by noting that an owner, clearly Dundon, feels strongly the league needs to involve stronger enforcement. Bettman then pulled the room, saying, "Do you agree with the current standard interpretation of Rule 48?" Putting everyone on the spot. And there was silence. After silence, Tulsky then spoke up to support his owner's position. He separately raised concerns about shifting standards on the goalie interference and video review as well, which is another genius, or not genius, but obvious rule that fans are very annoyed about. Seeking clarity about their rulings and process. So Bettman responded defensively and directly tied the pushback to Tulsky's owner. He reportedly said something along the lines of, "Well, I guess we know which owner this was," pointing out that he's only standing up for it because his owner was pushing for that. In other words, he was irate, blasted the GM, and retorted along the lines of, "We all know why you're bringing this up," as New York Times says. Bettman then followed up by asking, "Does anyone else agree?" Met with more silence, effectively ending the discussion. This framing out, calling out one specific owner, and his strong reaction came across as pressuring other GMs and not to publicly agree or pile on. No other GMs backed Tulsky in the room, and the topic dropped. Bettman has also defended the current Department of Player Safety process overall in the meetings, which is kind of crazy to me. But it's a little bit like it reminds me a little bit of like a dictator, like a Dana White with the UFC, where one guy has all the power and kind of he doesn't he doesn't force them into an answer, but I mean he's guiding them into the answer that he knows they want. Because I think general managers are scared to be the ones to stand up and maybe face further consequences whenever stuff happens with their players. So reports vary slightly on the heat level. Some called it as a heated exchange, as per Alan Walsh, the player agent, or raised the ire, including Michael Russo, described it as controlled and professional. Tulsky is level headed with no yelling. Tulsky and Bettman both declined to comment after this. Sources said Tulsky had no reason to be embarrassed. He stood up politely but firmly for his franchise and was respected for it. The room was buzzing about it post meeting, but nothing, no policy changes came of it, of course. Discipline wasn't even raised in the CBA talks. So this matters because, Tulsky, backed by Dundon, he is essentially the lone voice in the room pushing for bigger suspensions and stricter Rule 48 enforcement to improve head safety and consistency. I mean, a lot of us who have watched the game for decades, for years, whatever, you do like the violence still in the game. It's part of hockey, makes it entertaining as well. But I don't know about brain injuries and headshots and if that's necessary. I think that's a lot different than breaking a different bone, is injuring your brain. But Bettman's response highlighted the league's resistance to change, framed the ask as an isolated pressure from one owner, which shut down the broader GM support, of course. So nothing came about it. The other GMs didn't stand up. I understand why, but also a little bit shame on them for not wanting to defend their players. But you know, W's for Eric Tulsky and Carolina owner as well. Good on them for pushing for the safety of their players, and I hope their players respect that because they're standing up for their own guys. Like Jalen Chatfield, he should feel supported by his management. So that's it for this one. Let me know what you think about this.